Like most modern MMORPGs, Final Fantasy XIV offers 1,000,001 distractions, activities, minigames, and challenges beyond what you'll face in the main story. Trying to master a complex crafting system on top of all that can seem like a daunting task, with an endless to-do list attached. Perhaps you want to craft the most glamorous outfit to dazzle other players, or need that extra competitive edge in late-game fights. Regardless, we've put together this guide to help you get started and make the most out of crafting and gathering in Final Fantasy XIV. If you're just starting your adventure, there are a couple of important basics we should cover first. 1. Crafting is divided into disciplines, called Disciplines of the Hand, that focus on creating different items. For instance, the Armorer discipline lets you craft gear for melee defense, while the Goldsmith lets you make jewelry that can boost your overall stats. These are all leveled up similarly to how the base classes work. If you want to get started crafting as soon as you start playing, or at least as soon as you're able to, you'll have to get a combat class like the Gladiator or Archer up to level 10 first. Then what you're able to craft will be determined by where you start your playthrough. As you complete the main story questline, the world will open up, meaning you can acquire any of these classes later on. But at first you're going to be restricted to whatever crafting guilds are in your starting region. You'll find their start points on your map within your respective starting hubs. If you start in Lominsa, you'll have access to the Blacksmith class, which lets you craft weapons, the Armorer class, we mentioned above, and the Culinarian class, which is essential to crafting meals that give you stat buffs while playing. If you start in the Gridania region, you'll have access to carpentry and leatherworking, which will allow you to make weapons and improved crafting tools or gear for the non-tank classes respectively. If you start in Ul'Dah, you'll have access to the Goldsmith class, which lets you make jewelry that boosts your overall stats, the Weaver, which lets you make clothes with buffs for crafters and mages, and finally, the Alchemist class, which can brew potions for restoring health and MP or curing ailments. Where you start depends on what combat class you choose to start as. Each region features crafting guilds that complement the local starting classes, if you're looking to begin with a specific combo. As you open more of the map and gain access to other regions, you'll be able to unlock other crafting disciplines as well. Once you've joined your crafting guilds of choice, it's time to actually make something. But to do that, you'll need materials. And while you could just buy whatever crafting supplies you need, that cost adds up after a while. Gathering disciplines are the other side of the crafting coin, though again, where you start determines what gatherers guilds you can join first. The Mining Guild can be found in Ul'Dah, the Botanists are in Gridania, and the Fishing Guild can be found in Limsa, Lominsa. Also, like the crafting guilds, each has their own intro quest, which needs to be completed before you get access to their tools. The good news is that the 3 gathering guilds let you procure materials to use in multiple crafting disciplines. The Fisher, for example, can grab things used by the Alchemist and the Culinarian, while mining will net you materials that are useful for the Goldsmith, Blacksmith, and Armorer. And depending on what you're crafting, any extra or unnecessary materials you gathered can be sold off for extra gil. One of the handiest things about Final Fantasy XIV's crafting system is that you don't need to memorize or randomly guess where you'll be able to find the specific ingredients needed for a particular craft. You can simply open up the recipe in your crafting menu, then the material you're looking for, and select Search for Item by Gathering method. Bam! This will pull up the gathering log, which will show you what region this item can be found in. You can even click the location name to pull up that area's map for more precise gathering spots. Gathering areas in the world show up as a sparkling node that tells you what level materials you can expect to find there. It's always a good idea to grab some extra mats, or materials, if you see them. You can either make some quick gil by selling them, though you'll never know when they might come in handy. Conversely, if you have too much of a raw component, for me it's usually raw aquamarine, you can use this menu to search for and sort crafting recipes that use that material. Similar to the combat classes, crafting and gathering both have actions you can learn as you level up these roles to improve your harvests and build better items. Gathering actions, for example, range from simple actions like surveying the land around you to find materials, to passive abilities that can help you sneak around enemies above your level, or actions that increase the odds of gathering twice the raw material with a gatherer's boon. The actions available to the crafting classes are a little less varied, and more focused on improving the quality of your crafted items, which is a much more involved process than you may be used to in other RPGs. Both crafting and gathering skills beyond the very basic actions have a cost of CP or GP, crafting and gathering points, which are effectively a stamina or mana bar for your crafting abilities. It takes a bit for your GP to refill after gathering for a while, but your CP will reset to full after each craft. Unlike in games like Skyrim, crafting in Final Fantasy XIV doesn't just mean sitting down at a smithing station and hitting make to pump out a bunch of boots and helmets. Final Fantasy requires you to actively craft each item you want to make, and this crafting menu might be a little imposing at first, with several different stat bars to track on each build. Here's a basic primer on how it works to get you through your first few builds. When you start to craft an item, there are 3 stats you need to balance as you work: durability, progress, and quality. Durability is arguably the most important one to track, as it represents your ability to complete the item you're trying to build. The quality bar indicates, well, the quality of the item. The higher the quality stat, the better your odds you have, up to a 100% guarantee, that the item will be considered high quality, marked with a little high quality symbol. These items have better stats, meaning it will make a big difference for in-game dungeons and trials. Most low-level recipes won't require too much finesse, but at higher levels it's really important to have all your in-game builds qualify as high-quality gear. The progress bar shows you how close the item is to being done. In order to complete the build, you need to have the progress bar reach 100% before the durability bar reaches 0. If you don't, the craft fails, and you lose some, or even all, of the materials. Depending on the item you're crafting, your durability meter will start full, between 80 to 40, and will decrease with each step you take. Actions that will increase the progress bar, mostly called synthesizing actions, start at a cost of 10 durability points. Similarly, your main way to improve the quality rating of an item is with touch actions. You can see how much additional progress or quality an action's efficiency rating will grant you by opening the Calculations tab at the bottom of the crafting menu. As you level up, you'll learn new actions you can take on each step. Careful synthesis or prudent touch, for instance, improve the efficiency of those actions. Or the Great Stride skill, which doubles your efficiency for the next 3 steps you take. Most of these actions consume CP though, so keep a wary eye on your crafting points pool. We know all this probably seems daunting, but don't worry about getting it perfectly on the first try. You can do a trial synthesis that lets you practice balancing your skills without wasting any materials. Once you've crafted something at least once, you unlock the ability to use quick synthesis. This allows you to set up a queue to craft a single item multiple times, one after the other. This is handy in case you want to walk away or look through any of your menus. Once you get into the rhythm of what skills to use and what order, it'll become second nature, and you'll be well on your way to making all sorts of weapons and armor and leveling up these jobs to make even bigger craftable items. It's worth noting too, you should try to level up these disciplines at roughly the same pace. Many of the gear and item sets require multiple crafting disciplines to complete, and it can be easy to fall behind in 1 or 2 classes if you're not mindful of that. Once you do reach higher levels, in this case we'll consider that after you reach level 60 with your main combat class, and have completed most of the Heavensward expansion, not only will you be able to craft better weapons, armor, and tools, but you'll also get access to an area known as the Diadem. Here you can gather special Skybuilder materials you can use to craft enhanced versions of materials you can then turn in for special gear, though you can always sell them on the market board for a tidy sum as well. You'll also eventually unlock the ability to build and gather what are known as collectible grade items. These can range from weapons to bits of furniture and even in-game minions that follow you around. If you're looking to gather collectible materials, you can collect them like you would any other item. They're just a lot rarer, and the higher their rating, the more experience you'll get from each. You can redeem them for things like scripts as well, or other currencies that can then be traded in for special gear and unique items. When it comes to crafting collectibles, the only notable difference in the crafting process is that the quality stat mentioned before is now replaced with a collectible level. But the basic premise remains the same. Once you've whittled or smithed as much as you want, they can be then turned into appraisers for experience, scripts, and gil. You can potentially make crafting the main focus of your game at this point, though obviously there's also a world still to save. Hopefully that gives you a good idea of what to expect when you opt to become an apprentice blacksmith in Final Fantasy XIV, or a sous chef, or a weaver's assistant. Point is, soon you'll be cutting, hammering, and synthesizing all kinds of items for both fun and profit. We've got plenty more info on Final Fantasy XIV in our full guide, so for that, and all your other gaming needs, stick with us here at IGN.